Hi, today we are going to be talking a little bit about credit and debt, and more so like a credit score and the reason it's important. Now, in recent years, people know about certain people that say that you don't even have to have a credit score and you can live just fine. That is true. You can also live just fine missing a limb, but it's easier to have full use of all your limbs. And so, yes, I'm being a little bit of a smart aleck. I'm not one that gives to financial extremes. And I think that people are handicapped sometimes by trying to do away entirely with the idea of credit. And I want to explain today the importance of establishing and maintaining a good credit score. Having said that, just stick in the back of your head, I'm not going to deal with it today, but if you do not have discipline, you do not need credit. This is for people who have gained the maturity to tell themselves no. And in those cases, what to do with credit, how to establish it, and why, some things that you may not have thought of. So stay to the end. I'm going to be talking about a couple things you may not have realized are impacted by your credit and thus why it's so important, even from a very young age, even as teenagers and young adults. You need to be thinking about the impact on your credit score and what you need to do. So, number one, I want to start out by saying I used to be really great with credit cards and money. And then I went through a season where I got kind of out of control for a few years. And by a few years, I do mean like 2 or 3 years. And then I came back around and now I'm wise. Before I was good because I had really strong self-discipline. I'm a person that is a very disciplined person. I live a very disciplined life. But I got to a spot where we were short like $400 of our closing costs on the day that we were closing on our house because we didn't know what all the fees were going to be. And we lived so lean and it was such a stretch to buy our house, even though we bought it for like $110,000. It was such a stretch for us where we were in that point in our life. What I had to do was not pay off my credit card that month. For the first time ever in my whole entire life, I had to not pay off a credit card. And I was like, that's okay. It'll just take me a couple months and we'll have it paid off, no problem. What I didn't realize is because of what our mortgage was, our expenses went way up. Home ownership caused some expenses to go way up. And then the interest on that credit card, I was not able to pay off my credit card. It was April or May of 2001. I did not get out from under all of our credit card debt until 2000 and I think 10. And we stopped like spending on it at all within 4 or 5 years. So that is how bad it can happen really fast, which is why I'm talking to you now. If you don't have discipline, don't use a credit card. If you are a wise person, you've made mistakes before and you're ready to move forward, or you're somebody who is highly disciplined and have maybe watched some of my other videos on thinking creatively about money and saving money and things like that, then this will be useful for you. All right, so money and credit is a tool, and you need to understand that we see it as something tangible because we hold it physically in our hands and we trade it for things, and that's great. But when you start to think about how money is created by all of us, you start to learn about the possibility. So let me encourage you, if you're not quite following what I'm saying, you're like, creating money, what are you talking about? Read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad. I may have it sitting right here. That's real estate investing. That's retire. Okay, Kiyosaki has a lot of books. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about how you create money. I would encourage you to read that or ask a question in the comment below. If enough people are interested, I'll make another video or series of videos explaining that. But another reason you need to get good with credit is because credit is a card that you just swipe, credit or debit. See, I think debit cards are just like credit cards, even though I realize that fundamentally they're different. Psychologically, they're the same. Money is being moved without you touching it. And if they move to a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, like China has already done, and the US is making noises about doing in early 2023, not a conspiracy theory. The central bank has actually said it. Go look on their website. They put it out for comment last spring, and they're talking about rolling out to kind of like beta test it in 2023. So it's coming. You'll need to be able to think abstractly about money. It will just be numbers on a piece of paper. And that's what a credit score is as well. It's a number on a piece of paper. But just like money itself, a credit score is akin to money. And let me explain why in just a second. It's because you need that credit score in order to not pay more money for debt. So we all know interest rates. If you have a high credit score, you will pay a lower interest rate on debt. So like if you buy a car, if you buy a house, before any of you go, well, I'm going to save up for those things. Listen, there is something I'm going to talk about at the end you may not have thought about. You need a credit score in order to rent an apartment. That's not a debt, that's an apartment. But they consider your credit score, and if you have not established one, they will charge you higher security deposits. They may not be willing to rent to you. They may require additional funds that divert your income that direction rather than somewhere else. So it's very important for you to establish a strong credit score by paying off your credit cards every single month, using them. Don't spend 20 bucks every 3 months or something. Like, use it to buy your fuel. If you're not very disciplined, only buy gas with your credit card and then pay it off every month. That's fine. Or if you're a student, only buy your textbook with it, get your points, and pay it off every month. The key is paying it off every month and paying it off on time. You need credits sometimes you need credit cards to rent a car, but like personal loans, sometimes your credit comes into play. Here's something that you might not think about, but is very important. Credit scores can be reviewed under very specific conditions for employment. And this is particularly true if you're going to be working in some kind of like intelligence or something where you've got access to a lot of secrets. If you do not have good credit, or if you have a large amount of debt, it can impact your ability to get that job because it is perceived that you are more susceptible to bribery in those conditions. I know it sounds silly, but I learned this in a book a number of years back, and we don't often think about how that could impact our job. We only think, oh, well, I'll have to pay a little bit more to buy a car. It's fine. No, our credit score and the ability to maintain credit in a healthy way opens or closes lots of doors. And I'll be teaching more about how to develop wealth during this time of economic tension. And you don't have to be rich. This can be done on minimum wage. This is what I'm teaching my daughters who, are in their early 20s and they're in entry-level positions. These are things that all of us can do to get wealth. But the first thing is creating and establishing a healthy relationship with credit and your credit score. So you need it to be able to borrow money. You need it to be able to get reasonable living accommodations, whether you're buying a house or renting an apartment or renting a house. You even need it for jobs. Having a healthy view of credit, not viewing it as the enemy, but also not using it to splurge with, is what's going to help you as we are in difficult times. And the reason this is so important is so few people are going to be willing or able to do it. I was not able to do it in the recession of 2005. That's when I was digging out of debt. I had gotten myself into debt just before all that hit. And so that recession hit me even worse. Those of you who have a lot of credit card bills and debt you're carrying are going to be hit harder if you don't get out faster. If you want to try to get out faster, I've got some videos coming out later this week and early next week where I'll be talking about that. Make sure you look at that in the archives on the page. And share with me your thoughts below on credit, on things that have helped you with your credit, things that have hurt you, ways you've been impacted by a good or not so good credit score or stories that you've heard. But please make sure and protect other people's privacy when you're talking about things like that. So I look forward to hearing your comments and sharing with you on the next video. Bye.